Welcome to A Photographer's Life, the channel that takes you behind the curtain and into the world of professional architectural photography. Join us now for a question and answer discussion with members of the Association of Independent Architectural Photographers. This discussion is led by guest host and veteran photographer Kyle Wege.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining this call, the annual question and answer session, part one. I'm Kyle Wege. I'm going to be doing guest host today and have all these wonderful people here with us. So thanks for joining. This will be, fairly impromptu question answer. I've got some things I could pose to the group, but I thought just right off the bat we could just open it up. What are you guys thinking? How's the year going for you? What kind of questions do you have? What kind of things might be a good thing to talk about and collaborate on today?
Well, I have a question, and it could be for this group and for, if others see this and want to chime in down the road, that would be also cool. But I think this is whenever I'm with other architectural photographers, I'm always trying to learn. And so I'm always curious, what's one decision or change you made that had an outsized impact on your business and something where you could clearly see the before and the after? Because I've seen a couple of those in my business, and each time I'm like, oh, how did I not know this before? But now that I know this, I'm like, I'm never going back. But then I feel like I'm probably missing some other aha moments that other people have had. So I guess what are some aha moments you've had in your business?
Yeah. Can you share one of yours that you have on top of mind?
I think, a big one for me was so a couple that come to mind is switching from charging from a project-based charge to a licensing fee, like a creative fee and a licensing fee per image was a huge one. I'd say another one would be just learning copyright and doing it and just copywriting things and then using Pixie to do the work for me to scan the internet for shots that are out there that I haven't licensed to people. But those two things, both of those have had a huge impact on my business. But I feel like I just learned those a couple of years ago, and I feel like I'm still missing a bunch. So I'm open to things that you've learned or others have learned that are these are aha moments in my business.
I got a question for you then. If you're charging on a per image basis, not on a project basis, do I have that right?
No, I charge for a project, but the entry fee includes the day of shooting. There's a fee for that, and then there's a licensing per image fee. And then if people want additional, and there's a base set of images that they get.
A base number.
Yeah, base number. And if they want more, I will license them all the images if they want, but they will pay for each of the images. But before, I was just saying, someone would hire me and they're like, go shoot this thing. I'd go shoot this thing. I give them the images. They pay me for my day or my time, and they would get all the images. And that was, I was providing tons and tons of images with, I could put in 10 times the effort or, and it wouldn't change anything in what I made. So,
yeah, that's interesting. I know some other photographers who have, and I think still do shoot that way. And to me, it seems a very difficult thing to upsell after the fact, which is one of the things that I learned very early on in sales. Just working at Subway was they're going to order a sandwich, but you should upsell a drink and cookies with it, right? And it's cool. So if we agree on 10 images and then I'm able to capture 30 and then they're awesome and then you want to buy the rest of them, then I'm upselling you. So yeah, that's a good way to earn extra money and also just keep expectations aligned, right? I think that's a big thing too, because some spaces are well, I can only shoot 10 in a day. And other times it's I can shoot 50 in a day, depending on what the project is and what we need to do and how we're approaching it. So that can kind of align those expectations. I would say I'm with you in the copyright and licensing aspect of things. I kind of learned that probably 2017, 2018. And that was a huge differentiator, for me, just in how I even approached shoots. I wasn't doing licensing agreements before that. I wasn't having those conversations with clients. And so that was a pivot point for me. And I didn't really get too much pushback. I actually had clients appreciate that process more because now we're taking the gray areas out, and we're making it a lot easier. So if there's other people on their team that need to know what they can do, they can just pass the agreement along to them and all the language is there. And it's really easy to keep themselves in check and to have everything be very visible and transparent.
I also think that when people want to get extra images, I don't refer to it in my head, I refer to it as extra money. But to the client, I say this is part of the business model in the same way that licensing images to third or other parties that might be involved in the project. This is an architectural thing, by the way. I mean, for those listening who are not architectural photographers, having other parties involved in the project is unusual in other contexts, but not for architecture. So I don't refer to that as extra money, even though I think of it as extra money. It's part of the business model, and it is in fact part of the business model.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
it removes anything I can do to get a client to kind of understand my thinking and how my business works makes me look better and more it's more transparent.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, if you're,
try to make it easy to buy, and maybe I'm giving away the store, but you have a building you want me to photograph inside and out, maybe aerials, maybe not, maybe videos, maybe not. We decide on the scope of the work, and then I give a lump sum for the whole thing. That's it. And I'm going to take all the pictures I need to represent that building. And I don't care if I give them 50 or 10 or what I give them. And they give me the lump sum fee. And of course, they get a license for every picture I give them. Now, I might be giving away the store, but it really is an easy way. My clients, of course, love it. Maybe they're taking advantage of me. I don't know. Tell me.
have you ever had clients say that they were hoping for more photos? Like, I
Never,
mean, in that kind of never?
never.
Okay. And how do you establish what that deliverable is going to look like before the shoot happens when you don't quite know how many images you're going to capture?
Well, I just finished a contract. I did the Dropbox this morning. And on the agreement, it says that they're going to get about 10 exterior pictures and about 20 interior images. I gave them probably double that on both because it didn't take me a minute longer to take more shots than, 10 or whatever. And I liked them. I mean, I took a lot more shots than that, and I threw away 2/3 of the shots, and I still had a whole lot of good shots that what am I going to do with them if I don't give it to them and make my client really, really happy?
Did you color correct them or just give them the raw pictures?
Now I color correct. I don't ever give a picture of raw because well, I have one client that wants everything raw and they want to process it themselves. But otherwise, no, I can't stand to give them a picture that hasn't been processed.
But I mean, if you give them like 20 extra pictures, that's a lot of extra time editing then.
Yeah, but then I get repeat work from them. And they love me, and and I don't have to spend that. Like the extra time I might spend processing the pictures is less time I have to market because all my clients love me. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Now, I do have real clear in my agreements in red letters that you get complete licensing to every image I give you, but two things, you're not allowed to give my images to anybody else, and you're not allowed to sell my images to anybody else.
Yeah,
It's strictly for your use only.
yeah.
So
I
So
think
you're giving
Glenn,
full usage for advertising and all editorial,
yeah.
like all paid placements and everything.
And the other thing that I do is I get as many stakeholders as possible, meaning the architect hired me on this job. I called the general contractor, got him on board. I called the kitchen design people. It's a big commercial kitchen. Got them on board, got the mechanical, plumbing, electrical engineer on board, and the structural engineer. And my client, the architect, doesn't have to do anything other than I keep reducing their fee by gaining all these other fees. And I contract with all the other stakeholders and I invoice them and I collect. So my client loves to give me a list of everyone involved with the job because I'm going to go out and hustle them to get them as a stakeholder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I increased the fee from the architect. I had on that particular job, my fee, I think it was $1,400. And it ended up that they only paid $900 and I made close to $4,000 for all the people that joined in.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I think Glenn, I think the one difference, like I definitely want to sell all the photos, but I feel like for me, it seems that a lot of I want the best images going out.
Yeah.
And I found that when I was giving people like entire batches, they weren't discerning always. And sometimes I'd see stuff out there and I was like, oh, that's not the greatest. But I tell my clients up front, like, hey, here's the base set of images that come with this. And I'll tell them from day one, my goal is to get you to buy all of them. Like I want you to buy license every photo, but here's your minimum commitment and you don't have to buy any more than that. And then what I found is it depends on the client. Some clients are just interested in the minimum, but then it's cool because they choose like the top best shots. They typically like I always pay attention to what shots are they choosing because I'm like those are what my client thinks are the best. But then occasionally they'll be like, yeah, we want to buy the whole set. And I'm like, great. And then I do offer a discounted rate if they want the whole set or something like that. But
you ever find though that what you thought were the best pictures, that when they do see some additional pictures, it's like, oh, glad you showed me this because I like this better than any of the first ones you gave me. You know,
sometimes
they're looking for something different than you and I are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely hero shots that, especially if I have multiple stakeholders on a project, I'll see it. Every client buys that one shot. I'm like, that's definitely the hero image. You know, you can just like, and even when I'm editing it, you can kind of tell this one stands out. But then it's interesting if you have multiple stakeholders, the architect might go one direction and the contractor might go a different one, and the engineer will buy other totally different set. So that's. Yeah, so I don't know, but I do the same as you. I don't ever let my clients see the raw images. I only send them polished images that I would want to be out in the world.
I think Kyle has said the shiniest words or the words that resonated the most for me, and that's managing expectations. And I feel like I do not give a lot of pictures away. I basically try to corral the number of shots that we think will tell the story. I want to manage not just the client's expectations, but even my own, because I feel like logistically, I'd like to know, do I have 10 shots that they're, I asked the client, like, if you saw all these pictures on a wall, how many pictures are there and what might they look like in order to tell the story? And then from that, I can kind of construct a schedule that maximizes the most amount of time per shot. So I'm trying to get the most amount of shots and giving each shot the most amount of TLC or time. And then, depending on the client, if there's time, I'll shoot extra. But if it's interiors, if I've spec'd out 8 photos, I probably just take 8 photos and that's it. If it's exterior photos job, then the client's most likely, I'll say often not there. And I'll definitely shoot extra for the exteriors, but then I'll give them a web gallery that they can select from and purchase anything they want extra. I don't think I would give them away because I think that manages their expectations in a way that sets me up to always have to over deliver. And over delivering is tough for every single job, I think.
Yeah, it's nice to do once in a while. Obviously, it's kind of like a surprise then if they get something else. And I'll do that occasionally, where it's like maybe they picked certain images and they didn't pick one that I really liked. and I'm going to edit it for my portfolio anyways because I really like it and I want to make sure that it's there to show. And I'll just gift it to them. I'll say, I know you didn't include this one, but I edited it, and it's something that I think could be valuable. Here you go. If you use it, great. If not, no big deal. But I know for me personally, and everybody's a bit different in terms of how they approach their editing. For me, I'm spending anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes on one photo doing the editing. So if I'm sending an extra 10, like, man, I just spent a whole day and a half of my time that I'm not making any money on. And I only have so much time. And to be perfectly honest, I'm pretty lazy. I, I like to be as efficient as possible so that way I can spend more time with my kids and going camping and doing cool stuff and not just spending my whole life in front of a computer editing. But that's just my workflow. Maybe other folks aren't putting quite as much time in, or maybe you've got a faster editing flow. I'd love to hear what everybody on that post-production side, how much time are you spending on a project? What kind of things are you doing? How much time does one image take you? And obviously, if it's interiors or exteriors, if you're in a house and you have to do window pulls or other things, maybe that's different than shooting a vignette or smaller thing. But just an average, how much time do you guys feel like you're spending on the post-production side of a project?
Sure.
I'd like to hear more from everyone too, because I'm probably doing it way simpler than what I should do. But I focus a lot on the preset. I'll take one exterior image, one interior image, and I'll really take to me, it's a long time. I take 20 minutes to do one of those, create a preset, and then I'll take all my other interiors, go with that preset, and then each interior shot only takes me 2, 3 minutes to edit once the preset is really done well. That's why, yeah, if I was taking a half hour in every shot, I would absolutely do what you're doing and stick to like 10 shots, and you pay extra for every one after that. But maybe you have more sophisticated clients. Mine are really happy with what they get in my editing.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Matt, back to your original question, this was for me was an aha moment of just, my life in photography before was all film. And then when we started the transition to digital, the first time I was able to put a light in the shot to light it how I wanted to, and then digitally remove that light, that was like, aha, wow, things are different from here on out. And I'm more like Kyle. I spend way too much time. I wish I only spent 30 minutes on a picture because of that aha moment. And, back in the black and white film days, I enjoyed being a printmaker. So I enjoy that process. And I set the pictures up to where later, when the client offers feedback, whether it's the wood is too orangey or too yellow or whatever, I can just instantly go to that layer in that Photoshop layer, make the correction, and then, in a matter of moments, send them a new revision. Because I expect them to push back, like they want an outlet gone or they want a fire thing gone or whatever it is. It's always something. Or like an exterior, a truck rolls into the background or the foreground or something that it's beyond your control that requires extensive manipulation. There's always something.
I'm finding the AI editing tool of Erase is working really well. I loop around something, say remove, and it's gone, and I very seldom have to go back in and fix it.
Yeah, those work good. That and the generative fill. It just depends how you use it. I was doing a bridge the other day, and I needed a whole section of mountains, and I put that in. Then I took a good look at it, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot better than it used to be. When it first came out, you would have to manipulate a little bit, push and pull, maybe add some noise. Now I feel like the results you get are
and
pretty good.
the sharpness is getting much better. When it first came out, it was just mush, and now it's getting. You can sort of use it in high-end photos if you just have a little bit in there.
In your deliverables, are most of you giving high res and low res of the same image, or just high res or just low res, or what are you doing as far as that?
I do two. They're JPEGs. They're sRGB JPEGs, and one is 2,000 pixels. I spit it out at about 50%. Quality looks great, lightweight. And then I give them a print version, which is usually the full size, but sometimes a little smaller because the full size can be, 8,000 pixels wide. And but that's a 300 PPI, so it's ready for print. And I've gotten no confusion, no complaints anymore. Well, the other thing I do that's critical here is every file and every folder, but every file has the word print or web in it in capital letters.
Hmm.
So I don't get those complaints anymore. Like, well, the picture doesn't look right. It takes too long to load. So no more Adobe RGB TIFFs. I mean, obviously, if they ask for it, I'm happy to do it.
Because I have some clients that absolutely want everything ready to go for for web and electronic use. And then they just say, I'll let you know the 6 or 7 that I need a high res on after I have after I get all the pictures, I'll let you know 6 or 7 that I want high res. And then somebody else wants all high res and we'll reduce them down. If we want to use them on the web, we'll reduce them down. You just give us all the high res, so it's like, what?
Yeah, I'm similar to what Barry does. I've got two folders. One is going to be a web JPEG. The other is going to be a high-res print TIFF file. I don't label them differently, but it's so apparent that when you click on one and it's 300 megabytes or whatever, and the other one is 2, like obviously one's a JPEG, one's a TIFF. These are marketing folks. They tend to have an idea of what is what. I haven't gotten any pushback on that. I haven't gotten any trouble in terms of clients. I might do, like you said, and add in to the file naming, like web print, just so it's there. It might even be easier for them if they're doing like a search in their database or something and they're trying to quickly find it. That might be helpful. I also have chatted with Stephen Carlish, and he had mentioned that he never delivers like high-res TIFF files unless if they are specifically asking for it, and I think he might charge separate for it. And he does a lot of, really high-end interiors, homes, that kind of thing. A lot of magazine covers, a lot of that kind of stuff. So that was an interesting perspective to hear from him, that he's not necessarily delivering all of that.
Say why?
I think it was just a way to have more control. And also the clients that he's working with are pretty high level. So, they're probably expecting to pay for those things. And if they're going to be going to print or to publish in a way that they're going to want those, they're already spending extra money. So they probably don't see it as too much of an issue to purchase the high resolution images. So I think there's probably some way in his business or his contract or agreements that he's separating that or giving that expectation.
Have any of your clients asked for web.p files, which, are like half the size of a JPEG and just as good on the web?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, well, I did some research on it because I was fixing up my website and I have way too many pictures on my website. And so to make it work faster, I had an SEO guy help me, and he turned me on to the web.p, and all my JPEGs that are on my website have been converted to web.p. And now my website goes a lot faster. You can navigate a lot faster through it. And none of my clients have asked for it yet, but I did research and found out that virtually every server, every, what do you call them? Chrome, every
Browser
engine will recognize the web.p with no problem. But there's another format, I can't even think of it, that is even supposedly better, but not all the engines recognize it, so you don't want to use that yet.
JPEG XL?
A what?
JPEG XL?
It might be that. I can't remember because I just discounted it because not everybody recognized it yet.
Yeah.
It'll probably take over web.p real soon, but right now you might have clients asking for that, or you might even suggest that to them, a web.p file to be used electronically on their website.
The format's called AVIF, AVIF,
That's what it is. That's the other
Yeah.
one. Yeah. What do you call it? AV what?
AVIF.
Yeah. And
It's
my
smaller than WebP.
right, but my research said that it doesn't get recognized by all the search engines.
It has nothing to do with the search engines. It's usually related to the web browsers.
That's what I meant. The browsers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think any browser made in the last year or two, update. If you're not using a web browser that is up to date, then you have issues. But a lot of my pictures on my website are AVIF.
Yeah.
And do you export those out in that format, or is there a converter that you use once you've exported like JPEGs?
You can do export right from Lightroom if you use Lightroom. That's a format you can.
But you can't do it out of Bridge. You can do it out of Lightroom, but not out of Bridge.
Yeah, I don't use Bridge, so I'm not familiar, but I know Lightroom has that ability.
I want to say,
no one's recognized any difference on my website other than my website works faster. So I didn't lose any quality by doing that.
The other thing about AVIF is it has a higher bit. I think JPEGs are like 8-bit, right, guys?
Mhm.
I think AVIFs are 12-bit, so you have a higher not dynamic range, but you have a broader color palette with the AVIF. That's the reason why a lot of photographers should be moving in that direction.
Interesting.
I wanted to say something about the print file regarding TIFFs and JPEGs, because TIFFs obviously are a lot bigger, and they lend themselves to being further modified, let's put it that way, than JPEGs do. But what I always think about is a demonstration of there's a very well-known educator and photographer named Peter Crow, who does a lot of work with DAM, Digital Asset Management. It's got a book actually called the DAM book. He gave a talk once, and he brought with him 3 prints that were 20 by 30 prints, and one was a TIFF, and one was a JPEG, and one was printed out of a PSD. And he asked everybody to come up and take a look at them and see if they could figure out which was which, and nobody got it right.
Wow.
So the JPEG looked perfectly great. And so that was a big lesson for me, in terms of printing. I mean, a big proper print, which is bigger than you're ever going to see in a magazine. Yeah.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I do a lot of printing, and the big difference is in the color space. If you print something in sRGB, the colors are a lot more muted than if you print it with RGB. So when a customer wants a print, I go and re-edit it just for print.
Yeah, in this case, there was no difference. It wasn't. It looked just fine, and Peter's. There's people who you listen to, and there's an opinion, and then there's people you listen to who actually know what they're talking about. He's a guy that's an alpha beta tester for Adobe and all the rest of it. Very, very smart guy. So whatever it was that he did in his printing, it was indistinguishable. And these were not simple prints. They were complicated looking, and it was amazing. So anyway, it was a long time ago. So there you go.
And do you know what the color space was?
By the way, I would never say any of this to a client. Client wants a TIFF, I give him a TIFF. I don't care. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you know what the color space was for those? Was he exporting the JPEGs in Adobe RGB?
I don't remember. I really don't remember. But yeah, I think it's more likely you're going to have a problem with the smaller color space if you can get banding, particularly in like a sky or something like that, or if you have high frequency, then I think you want to not be in sRGB.
Yeah.
that's always going to be a problem. But for normal printing, sRGB is totally solid, and I've never had really a complaint from actual printers, commercial printers on.
No, I mean you won't have any complaint, but especially like sRGB to RGB. If you look at something like a purple, it's a lot more muted in sRGB than
Yeah.
RGB. Certain
Yeah.
colors just
But that's
tail
only
off quicker.
Yeah, but on screen, which is where most of the images live,
Right.
nobody cares. You can't see it, and I've been uh, without naming names, pretty disappointed at some of the physical prints that I have seen of some of my work because they did not know what they were doing or didn't take my advice on how to print or let me print. I
Well,
love to
yeah.
print, but I can't ever get anybody to pay for it, so I'll
No,
only.
I mean, all the print places are, they're all over the board. Some places will take 16-bit RGB TIFFs, and some will take 8-bit sRGB, and then it depends on the paper and stuff they print.
Yeah,
So it's all over the place.
yeah. I think I think it's important that that photographers understand the basics of this stuff. And on the occasions when I teach, when I start talking about color management, it's like deer in the headlights, uh,
Yeah.
or it's panic. But
No,
the basics are pretty simple, and if you know the basics, and again, if you're color managed as you're processing your own photos and you're producing the sRGBs, then everything looks fine. But when you get clients who don't always know what they're doing, and I think that's one of the things again I worry about with the tips, because then they can manipulate the tips and they could, you know, I
All
mean,
this discussion brings up something too. When you go to save your picture or your image, I mean, um, there's a place to save it for print and gloss paper or flat paper, and also for screen use. So when you give it to the clients, like you give all your high res images for printing, you save it for paper, gloss paper. And when you give your low res images, do you save those for use electronically? There's a place to do that.
I just use
I still do
Lightroom,
the
which doesn't give you those options, and I just never have had a complaint. They just look fine. It's
yeah.
not because they're basically almost nobody's printing anyway.
Right.
Maybe and when I've been in architects' office and designers' offices and seen prints up on the wall, unless they've used a really good printer, a person, not a printer itself, the machine. I've been a little bit horrified at the quality of some of the things that I've seen on not my photos on other people's walls. So I just I kind of zen it out and go, well, it's out of my control.
Yeah, I mean, my deliverables are you guys's. I mean, I'm sending them a TIFF and a JPEG. And because the TIFF, I mean, because I can't get any bigger than that, I call it a native proportion or native size. And because you can't really get bigger than an Adobe RGB, I suppose just Pro Photo RGB, but like I consider that TIFF like a master file that you make other files of, if the marketing people know what they're doing. But like you, Kyle, what you said, I mean, I don't really label them, but I describe as I deliver them, like this file is probably best for print uses, and this file is best for electronic uses.
Commercial printers don't like getting ProPhoto.
That's what my understanding is too.
Yeah, they want Adobe RGB, or if you're a genius, to give them a.
And I'll say that I don't really work in 16-bit. I mean, certain images I'll work in 16-bit if there's no detail, if it's smooth gradations. But just to save on file sizes, I just work all in 8-bit.
Any other questions? I mean, we could go back to Matt's original question. I feel like we didn't quite delve as far into that as we could have in terms of aha moments or things that you've changed in your business. There's one that comes to mind for me in terms of networking and being where my clients are. I went to, this was maybe 2021 when we were just kind of getting back into in-person events. My local AIA chapter, they have their yearly conference and expo on architecture. And so I went to just the expo just to see what it was about and try to hand out some business cards. And I noticed there weren't any photographers at the expo. It was all other contractors, it was all material suppliers, engineers, that kind of thing, and it's architects walking the floor, not necessarily marketing people, but a lot of times architects who are, you know, the ones that are designing it's their project, it's their baby. They have some influence on who photographs it. They have some influence on what it should look like. They're usually on site while we photograph, depending on the client. So I was surprised to not see any photographers there. And the next year, I reached out to AIA Wisconsin and asked, "Hey, can I photograph this for you? Do you need a photographer for the event? Like I've shot lots of events in the past. Here's the work that I've done. Primarily I'm focused on architecture, but it would be great to partner on this. And maybe I don't charge you if you give me a booth." And they said, "That sounds awesome. Let's do that." And so now I'm in my fourth year of doing that with them. They put my logo up certain places. They send out emails beforehand saying, "Hey, we've got Kyle photographing our event this year. Here's his portfolio. Check it out. If you see him around, he'll take a picture of you and your firm." And I offer a watermarked gallery for everybody to just download and use. I figured that's, why not? So that's been an interesting thing for me. It's grown my business a lot. I've made connections with people that I haven't necessarily worked with, but when I go to the conference, they know me by name and they see who I am and they know what I'm doing and they comment on my LinkedIn posts, and it's been growing and growing. And I do have clients now that reached out saying, "Hey, we've seen the work you're doing with AIA Wisconsin. We love that support. We want to work with you." And I've got projects coming up this summer now with clients that I've never worked with before because of that kind of thing. So networking in the places where your clients are seems simple. I wasn't doing it, and for some reason, other people weren't doing it around me. So I would say that could be a really game changer for you in terms of the clients you're looking for and being where they are. And we all know this is a long game. It never happens as fast as you want it to. Client relationships take a long time to develop. My first year or two, I didn't see as much return, but now in my fourth year of doing it, I am seeing a lot of return. So it's that kind of persistent game. It's kind of showing up and making sure that they continue to remember, "Oh yeah, this guy. Oh yeah, that guy. He takes some photos. We could reach out to him." And those opportunities, they probably have somebody they work with already, but when that person's busy, they're going to think of you right away. Let's give Kyle an opportunity. Let's see what he does. So I'm curious, does anybody else do that? Do you guys network outwardly or in person, or you know, what is that?
Do a lot. You all know SMPS, Society of Marketing Professional Services, right?
Mhm.
I'm giving a speech to them, and it's all marketing coordinators, basically. It's
Mhm.
not too many principals. It's mostly marketing coordinators, but they're the ones that hire the photography. And I'm just giving a seminar next month on, like I get an hour in front of all of them to just talk about how to select and work with your architectural photographer. So,
Yeah, nice.
I'm going to be the expert for an hour with all those people, and I'm going to tell them my way of doing things is the best way of doing things. But I also go to AIA meetings and a couple other professional groups, and just glad hand and be there and have everyone know who I am, and I get work from it. But
Well, I think
then,
it's
go ahead.
well, it's just important. People want to work with people they like. So
Yeah.
if you're there in person, I mean, what you can do some of that online and through email, but it's never quite the same because you're going to be hanging with each other. Well, even if the architect comes for 10 minutes and leaves, if they feel secure that you have you know how to behave for the rest of the day while they're not there, because we're representing them when we're on site. Yeah, I think that's cool. It's important.
Yeah, it helps deepen the relationships for sure. I think it's all important being visible online, making sure they're seeing the work that you're doing. But then when you connect in person, it adds a depth to the relationship that isn't there if you just are emailing or doing a video chat like this or something.
Yeah.
Well, prospecting goes hand in hand with networking.
Mhm.
And a good example that I just had a couple of weeks ago is I'm going through my list to get all the stakeholders on a certain job. And I get down to, in this case, it was the kitchen designer, the commercial kitchen designer. And it was my last call. And it was like, is this really worth making a phone call? Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. So I call. I ended up on the phone with this lady for a good half hour. And she's a communications director for that company, but also for 4 other companies, and they all need new websites. And she's going to hire photography for all of these websites. And that was just it was like, should I really bother to call? Yeah, that was the best call I've made in a long time.
I know,
So
you
just
never
when
know.
you're making prospecting calls and you're getting discouraging, just think in terms of maybe 1 or 2 more calls just might make a difference.
Well, also, I just had the experience, this project I'm working on right now. In fact, if I wasn't on this Zoom, I'd be working on the photos. Um, I'm dealing with a couple of landscape architects for a big engineering firm, and neither of whom I had ever uh, contacted before, didn't know who they were when they contacted me. They said I had been recommended to them, and they named a guy. Well, they actually put him in the email, and I hadn't contacted him either. It's a big national firm, and but what I had done is in January I had contacted some of the marketing people and executives. So I think somewhere along the line somebody told this guy to check me out, and then he told the 2 local architects, and when I say local, I mean California, to contact me about shooting these jobs, and they were under some time pressure because they've got a magazine article, and they needed images quickly. So it was odd. You just don't ever know where these jobs are going to come from. Um, which is difficult for people with control issues like myself, but you can't control it anyway. So, it's another moment to let go, control, and zen it out, and just it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, that was 6 months uh, after the original contact, or 5 months after the original contact. So,
I think it was Barnum T. Bailey that said, everyone knows that 50% of all marketing efforts and costs are a waste of time. It's just that nobody knows which 50%.
yeah, yeah.
And
Wow, 50%. I always assume it's like 90% of my time
Yeah.
is wasted, but
Say
that's
80,
all right.
20 maybe.
10%
But
return is
we could all talk about where we've had success and where we have not had success in marketing, and it'd probably be all completely different.
Yeah.
And not one thing is the formula. You try all kinds of different things, and some things work for you, and some things will work better for Barry, and some will work better for Chris. But you got to try them kind of all.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
The only thing for sure is zero marketing turns out zero results.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend locally here who's a really good drone pilot. That's all he does is capture drone. He and I have worked together on projects before, and he's got like 35,000 followers on Instagram. So he gets the majority of his work from Instagram, whereas I get purely no work from Instagram. It's not really a spot that I focus on at all. My audience there is just other photographers, which is cool. I like connecting with them, but when he and I talk, it's very much 2 different worlds in terms of how he's connecting with clients and how I'm connecting with clients. And we help each other in that regard because I tell him what I'm doing on my website and what I'm doing on LinkedIn, and he gives me ideas on how to maybe grow my reach on Instagram. But yeah, like you said, Glenn, it can really, everybody's path is a little different. Everybody's skill set in terms of, are you good in person? Are you good online? Are you able to find virality in social media? Do you like to send out printed work? Do you, connect with people in other ways? It's pretty interesting.
Does your friend, the drone pilot, does he have a website also?
He does, yeah. I don't think he spends much time on it. Maybe if you did like some search queries, he would come up.
But it probably does he have a link on his Insta that sends people to his website?
I think it's more like a print store. that he links to and sends there, because he does a lot of shots of Madison. This is where we are. And he'll get Prince sales in there. And most of the people that follow him are just individuals, you know, so it's more of like a B2C relationship, where he's trying to elicit that. But there are businesses that will hire him to do fly-throughs and that kind of stuff. So
I found Instagram to be pretty good right now. It used to be Facebook, and then that's faded. Instagram is pretty good. I've noticed. So I think what happens is it triggers and reminds my current clients, oh, we have to get mad on this project. So I mean, I notice as soon as I put an Instagram post out, normally within a few days, I start getting like little pings from current clients. New clients, it's occasional. It's not quite as robust at drawing in new clients. It sometimes does, but
yeah. And I think it might also depend on your clients as well, because I see a lot of other photographers, and every day they're sharing their clients' posts, right? My clients don't even post on Instagram. Like, that's not even a thing that they're doing. So it's hard for me to even share those things. And it's hard for me when I'm posting the work and I'm tagging them, like they don't even see, you know, it's like that's not a thing that they're doing so much of. It's a lot more LinkedIn than Instagram in my part of the world.
I like LinkedIn, and I think for businesses, you just it's so much better. It's about business. I mean, LinkedIn is all about business anyway. The format is social media, but the content of what people put on there is all about business. You know, you're not going to see the here's my new puppy, or I got married, or we're going on vacation and here's my drink. You're not going to see that stuff on LinkedIn, which is very refreshing. And I will say one thing, a little bit of a change, to go back to Matt's original question about this. When I first started using LinkedIn, I would just connect with anybody all the time. And then I had a friend who was a photographer, and he said, "Well, I'm not going to connect with other photographers. They're my competition." So, I removed all the photographers, and occasionally somebody, there might be a personal connection I'd have to do. I have completely gone back to my original way. I will connect with anybody on LinkedIn, because the whole point of LinkedIn is to be connected to a wide range of people, more or less with your interests in mind. And certainly architects and engineers and all the rest of it. So that was a big change for me, and it was a lot more relaxing now. So I reach out all the time, and if somebody wants to connect with me, I don't care who they are, as long as they're legit. I just say yes.
I think it's good to connect. I like to connect with everybody, but I think it's really important to think about who your message is to. And so when I'm writing, I'm not writing for the photographers.
No,
I don't
me
care.
neither.
I'm writing for architects, engineers, contractors. I want them to be engaged. And if other photographers hop on and engage, that's fine, but they're not my audience necessarily. So
I'm really cognizant of that. And even though I mostly do architecture, I've had some other projects that I have done, and every now and then I want to post something that's not architecture. And I posted one recently, and the headline was, "And now for something completely different." So it just lets people know in advance, no, this is not a building or a landscape architecture project or any of that. But you have to be a little bit careful. I'm pretty sure that I have not gotten some jobs because of the other kinds of work that I show on my website, but I kind of don't care.
Any of you look at other architectural photographers' websites?
Oh God, yes, sure.
I mean, really look at them from beginning to end.
Yes.
I've looked at yours.
Yes and no.
Yeah, no,
I like to look at them, but they're both inspiring and soul crushing. They're so inspiring because there's so many talented people out there, and they're soul crushing because there's so many talented people out there.
And I totally agree with you, Darius. But the thing I like is, first of all, I love to see the work. But second of all, I'll get something out of everybody's website that I'm going to borrow. Unless their personality and their website's completely different than me. But even so, I like to see it. I like to see how other people are presenting themselves. And I know mine's weird compared to a lot of other people, and I don't care. It suits me. It works with my clients and me. But I keep stealing ideas from other people's stuff. And totally, like you said, Harris, I get inspired by, oh, someday I might be that good. Who knows? And then other ones, it's like, at least I'm better than that guy.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that I
That's
have
both
experienced
ways.
is I look at somebody. There's a photographer here who charges more money than I'm able to charge
Yes.
because of his reputation, and I look at his work and I go, well, his work is no better than mine. It's very good work, but it's not really that much better, or it's not better at all than mine. So I think, well, that makes me feel better about myself. It also makes me feel better about having raised my rates recently because I know at least I got a standard that I'm adhering to.
Yeah, I used to be more competitive, like minded, where, I would be kind of like you, Barry, like I wouldn't connect with anybody because I'm just too competitive. And now when I look at all the other websites, I'm inspired because you all are as crazy as I am to try to do this. So clearly you are brothers.
Yes.
I mean, because there's better ways to make a living, but it's great to see so many people still trying to do like true like real architectural photography and not just like real estate snaps or something.
Yeah, I'll say I had that bit of a realization last November. I went to do a workshop in Texas with a bunch of really talented photographers. Go in with no expectations, just to try to learn and pick up what you can and have a good, week-long kind of thing. And I came out of that
Oh,
with like 30 new friends, and it was like it was the same as what you said, Darius, where it's just like they were all variations of me. It was like every one of you could be like my best friends. And yet we're competition. We work against each other in some way. I mean, it was a national thing. Some international people came. But I'm still well connected with those people, and I've built a network of those folks, same as we do here, where it's like let's talk and let's connect and let's try to help each other. It doesn't have to always be so competitive. Of course, we all need to pay our bills and everything, but hopefully the market is doing well enough where we can all thrive together and we can all help to make sure that the industry is building in the right direction and not be so competitive with each other that we're racing to the bottom. We can go the other direction and try to build it up and educate clients in the same regard. We don't really have like an architectural photographers union where we can kind of like have certain standard rates or certain licensing terms or anything like that. So working together in this way, we kind of build that organically. But it's really interesting, just you know, like you hang out with those people or you meet those people and you really feel like it's myself just mirrored in a different way. It's fun.
Who ran the workshop?
Yeah, so this was the Marfa workshop in Texas, and it was done by Stephen Carlish, Emma Peters, four instructors, and I'm just
What was the
still needing more
workshop
coffee.
about?
It was like architecture based. I mean, it was just mostly to connect and fuel your creativity and learn from each other, understand the processes that we each go through. Try to find creative moments, bring back more raw authenticity into your work. For a lot of people, who were working every day, just busy, 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 this was kind of like a vacation. They came out to the middle of the desert. Marfa is like an art town in the middle of nowhere in West Texas. And so it was really cool to just kind of connect with them and all of us hang together. It became a pretty emotional experience. It was 3 days photographing, plus the first day getting there and then the last day leaving. So it was a week long kind of thing. But yeah, there was points where it was like, hey, just go stand in this spot for an hour and don't move and just observe and see what happens. Take pictures if you want to, but observe. Like this is the job, is to observe, not to necessarily capture the most beautiful thing in the world or whatever, but just to be present and open enough to understand what's happening around you. So you're not so busy that you miss stuff. So that intentionality of slowing down, where we all are so busy and we're working, we're pushing, and we're trying to get stuff done, and we got deadlines, and we've got, constrictions by the clients and all that kind of stuff. So it was fun. We also got to photograph Douglas Friedman's Marfa Ranch, which was a highlight. It's pretty awesome.
Back to Matt's original question, an aha moment was with my fees. I was advised a long time ago by one of my mentors. This is in architecture, not in architectural photography, but just the measure of your fee, whether you're charging enough, is you want to lose 1 out of every 5 proposals. Now, think about that. It's like if you're knocking down 10 proposals in a row and everybody's hiring you right away, you might think you're just that good, but probably you're just that cheap. And if you lose at least 1 out of every 5, that's what I've had for years and years, whatever business I'm in, I don't want to get every proposal I put out. I want 4 out of 5, because then I keep raising it. When I get like 6 or 7 in a row, I raise my fee. As long as I keep getting 4 out of 5, I'm good.
Yeah. I would say that's maybe where I'm at this year. Last year it was like 1 out of 5.
Yeah, well then maybe you ought to lower your fee a little.
Well, I mean that was what I was thinking, but I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. I changed a little bit in terms of what I was offering, but I didn't cut my rates at all. Which, I mean, the life's not getting cheaper, like nothing around me is getting cheaper. Gas is maybe slightly cheaper now, but it's like my groceries are higher, my bills are higher, energy's higher. For me to get to a place is higher. For me to buy new gear is higher. Photoshop is higher. Like, what do you want me to do? I can't cut my rates and also do this as a full-time thing. And they're not cutting their rates.
No, I just lost a job because I underbid.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know this for a fact because the response I got, this was a woman who, a marketing person at a pretty good sized local firm who was redoing their photography roster and was interviewing photographers with the idea that you would start to get some steady work and be part of their on-call list. And so she had a project that was pretty mundane, if not boring, and said, give me a price for this. And I gave her a price and she wrote me back and she said, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but why are you so cheap? And I had an answer for that. And I wrote her back and I said, I was nervous. And so, and I'm sorry, and here's another bid. And I had not included an assistant in the first bid. And I always like to have an assistant. We all do. It makes life a much better place to be when you're on site very often. And I never heard back. And so that was a real lesson for me. Don't underbid, because now I've lost a future client for several jobs ongoing. So, but that's part of that thing that Glenn was talking about. There's a certain level that you're going to lose some, but I didn't expect to lose it for that reason. But yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel definitely like you can come down, right? Like you can, if a client goes, "Ooh, this is way out of budget," and you can say, "Oh, okay, well, let me know competitively what you're seeing. Maybe there's a way where we can do this for less."
Sure.
And that's happened before where a client has said like, "Oh, we wanted to work with you, but boy, this is more than what we thought it was." And we work it. We bring it down. Either we lower a shot list or we do something more efficiently, or I just give them a credit or something, some way to show that like I'm on their side and that this is something that I want to do.
Yeah.
But I've found that coming up in price is the very opposite. It makes them feel from like a sales standpoint that you're not ready, or that like, oh, now he's just raising the rate because I told him that he could, or some of that kind of thing where it feels like less professional. I've heard other photographers, not in the architecture realm, in more general commercial realm. You want your client, when you give them the estimate or the bid, to go, ooh, okay, I'm gonna have to go talk to my boss about this. I'm not sure if we can spend this much, right? Because then that's when you're at the level you're like, oh, okay, good. Like I hit your ceiling. Let's figure out where that is. I don't want to leave money on the table. Again, as somebody who's lazy, who I don't want to work every single day and only work, make $800 for a shoot or whatever. Like I want to make the most amount of money doing the very best job that I can for the clients who value it the highest. Like that's what I want to do. And I don't want to do anything else.
don't think that's being lazy.
No, I mean, I am lazy. That's the thing, though, is like it comes out of like that kind of a mindset. Like I'm selfish, and I value my time. I value my other thing. I want to ride my bike. I want to go fishing. I want to hang out with my kids. I want to go
What do you mean?
camping.
You have a personal life?
That's the thing, right? Is like as a self-employed person, you got to find a way to make that happen.
So
I feel
Barry,
like there's too many of us that work so hard.
I had a similar experience. I think it was 2 years ago now. I had somebody ask. I just gave them my normal rates for what they're asking for, and then they ended up hiring me. And when they hired me, they're like, "You were like the cheapest by like half."
No.
And I was like, "What?" And so I did that job for them. I did that job for them, and then instantly raised my rates because I was like, "I don't want to be the cheapest by half. That's horrible." So
Did you raise your rates with them?
No.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, I honored my rates with them, but I was like, I got to change. Like this.
No, I mean,
okay.
for other jobs, have you done other jobs for them where you've raised your rates?
Well, they haven't had me back, which is fine. I don't know if they can afford the new rates that I have now, but I was like, man, like, because I don't always know what everyone in the market is charging. So but that gave me some insight, and I was like, oh.
Well, but the standard, of course, as we've all experienced, is you don't. If you go in and you get a job for someone and then you raise your rates, they may never hire you again because you've raised your rates. And I went through that exactly with a client who loved my work, um, and I raised my rates not even that much, and that was a job I did without an assistant. And because I'd worked with them and I knew how unreliable they were, for instance, about showing up with the staff to be in the photos, standard stuff. They would always come late, or they wouldn't bring enough people. Sometimes they never brought anybody. So I thought, well, I need an assistant so that I have extra time just to get this covered. And they argued with me forever about my rates, and then basically lectured me. There wasn't really a dialogue. And they didn't hire me again.
As I've raised my rates, I do have like grandfathered rates for my clients that I've been with a long time because I didn't want it to be as shocking. But then I have new client rates, which are significantly more. And the new client rates are where I want to be, and the grandfathered rates are like I can do that. It's not where I want to be, but I also don't want to alienate my clients that I've been with for a long time. But I do notice like gradually over time, I have less and less grandfathered clients and more new clients. And then I'm at the new level. So like that's been a strategic move I've been doing. It takes time. It's not a fast thing, but.
Well, and also you have to learn your clients. So there's clients that are easy and there's clients that are difficult. And difficult in weird ways. I've got a client who's fine with the money, but I showed them their original photos to make their choices from over a month ago, and they still haven't decided. And one of the partners on it is a contractor, and they're frustrated. I mean, it's a commercial contractor. Usually those are the people that make the decisions the fastest. So that was surprising to me, but they've been really nice to deal with, and the money was no problem. And
so one clause I have in my agreement is that after 30 days of reviewing the proofs, like the payment for the base project is due.
Oh.
And they can take more time if they want, and they could add more photos later if they want. But after 30, and then normally what I do is I give them a call and I'm like, hey, I know you guys still might need more time, but we're hitting that 30-day mark. Is it cool if I send the invoice over? And they're normally like, oh yeah, sure, send the invoice. And so then I'm paid, and then they can take, I don't care how long they take.
Oh, that's good. And so you have that in your agreement.
It's in my agreement that, 30 days after the proofs are delivered, if it's not like the invoice is due, even if you haven't made your selection.
You guys keep talking about your rates. Like, are they published or what? I don't think any client knows what my rates are.
Mine are not.
Every job that anyone asks me to do, I give them a lump sum price to do that one. And the same client, one job involves enough stuff that it's, $2,000 or whatever, and another, it's a simple little easy nothing thing, and I'll do it for $800. And the next time, I'll do 4,000. I mean, there is no rate that I do. I do a lump sum for each project I'm going to do. Where do rates come in?
So for me, I haven't, and maybe this is where you guys can tell me if this is good or bad, but I have this year, I have a set fee that I charge for architectural photography. And then what does it take for me to show up? There's my creative fee for the day, and then a set of 10 images. And then I have add-ons that people can do. They can, if they want a drone flight, then that costs a certain amount. And then they guide me, like, did they want interior shots, exterior shots, everything, what are they looking for? And then I try to over deliver, and I want them to get more images than that base set. But they know if they hire me this week and if they hire me next week, they know my rate is the same. Like I change them about once a year. That's currently. So, but I don't know. I'm curious what other people do too.
I'm right along with you there. I have like a creative fee for the day, and I have like two tiers, right? So like if a smaller local company is going to hire me, I know it's going to be the lower tier. If like a larger regional company or a national firm is reaching out to do something here, it's definitely the higher tier. And then a per image rate for photos, which is including the licensing. And if they want additional usages that aren't in my standard licensing agreement, that per image fee goes higher, or there's just a line item to add it to the gallery. And then I don't do like a lump sum. I have an itemized estimate because that's what I would want to receive, right? Like if I'm hiring a contractor, I want you to build a deck in my backyard. I don't want you to just say, oh, it's going to be $12,000. Okay, but why? Like what are the factors that could change if something happens? Like, or if that's too much, how can we talk about bringing it down? So I like to itemize everything. My creative fee, is a lump sum. That's the time, the cost for me and my assistant, and I've been adding in all the gear that I'm bringing, right? Because this is all part of it. That's the creative fees. I need these things to do the job, and I'm not trying to justify it necessarily, but I want it to look like, oh shit, okay, he's charging us, so much for a day. It feels like a lot, but here's all these things that are coming along with it that we don't necessarily think about. So yeah, like you said, if there's drone coverage, that's a separate fee. It's authorization and the additional insurance that's coming with it. I usually have some expenses listed for whether it's travel or whether it's a meal for the day, those kinds of things. And then if they're doing cost sharing, I break that down to what it looks like so that way they can see, okay, we've got two additional partners. This is what what it's going to add up to the total shoot and how it gets divided. It's all just in like an Excel kind of a thing in an overall estimate. But yeah, like you said, Matt, I want my clients to know generally what it's going to cost before I even send them an estimate. A brand new client, obviously they're not going to have an idea. And I do have a rate sheet that I'll send out to people. I try not to just send it out to anybody. But I want it to be relatively consistent. And since I'm doing per image, I put that right on there. We've discussed 15 images. Here it is at this rate. You can tell this is what it's going to be. And I tell them that's just a placeholder, right? That's not the minimum. If you only want 5 images, then you just pay for retouching on 5 images. I don't care. My creative fee will stay the same. We spent all day doing it. That was the thing. We're there. We spent all the time. But if you want 5, if you want 15, if you want 25, like you can do the math, right? You can see this number times this number equals this. And it makes it really easy. And then I'm never like pushing too hard on budgets because they can decide for themselves. Like I'm going to send you a proof sheet, a contact sheet, and you make the decision. It's your budget, not mine.
I was just going to say that I don't like to itemize because it gives people an opportunity to negotiate with you. I think that, if you list, say your retouching fees are this and the assistant costs that and the my equipment package is this, and say, well, why is your equipment package this? Can we do for that? Or so I always lump sum, and it seems to work for me. I just say, if I'm going to do, if the job is to do 12 pictures, 20 pictures, this is what it is. And if you are, on site with me, you ask me to do an additional picture that wasn't part of the original focus, I put X, in the contract it says it's X amount. So you add 5 more pictures in that, it's going to be, this amount. But I just do lump sum.
Okay. And see, I don't mind that. For me, in the experiences where I've had people push back, those are the jobs I'm going to lose, right? So I'd rather negotiate than just lose.
Mm.
And this offers that opportunity, right? Where it's like, like where Barry said before, if you come too low, it's really hard to go up. It's always easier to come down. And I want them to be able to see exactly what things are costing. So that way, if we start a discussion, I can say, look, this is the cost for this. We could go from 15 images to 10 images. I have an assistant. I would love not to cut my assistant because we're going to get less done in a day. So if you're looking to have just 1 day production, this is the most efficient way to do it. We could cut the drone, we could do whatever. You could pick 10 images to retouch later and have that be a separate cost later. Or we could do, multiple payments over a certain period of time or something like that. But for me, I've definitely lost work when I wasn't able to negotiate or when the client felt like they couldn't negotiate. And that's something I'm very comfortable doing. Like I want to have those conversations right up front. I want you to be comfortable and transparent with what we're offering. If you're asking for video on top of it, like that's not just going to all be in the lump sum. Like, hey, this is what it is. This is why it costs so much. Is because you're asking for so much. But again, everybody's a little bit different, so it's really interesting to hear. When you give a lump sum, how are you sharing that with them? Like, do you
Yeah,
describe what it is? You just have it in the terms of,
exactly. I usually say it in a broad paragraph what this price includes. It includes all these things. It includes this, that, and my travel and system, whatever. Includes all these things. So they know what they're getting for the price. Include the usage fees.
but you don't list those out individually.
No.
Say that's all part of this.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a variance clause where if you're saying this includes travel, but travel could change, the cost for that change on a daily basis, like do you account for that saying like this could be 10% higher or lower, or actual costs are going to be billed as they were expensed, those kinds of things in terms of actual terms and conditions for what the payment is going to be or what they should expect at the end?
I mean, I don't find that those costs change that much. And then, I mark everything up so that there's a buffer.
Okay.
So if I know a flight's gonna be $400, I'll charge $600 for it. Um, well, that's what, when I itemize in my head or when on paper, that's what I do.
Mhm.
Um, so that I know I have wiggle room in all my estimates on depending on when they, sign the contract, if they do.
Mhm. Okay.
I don't have to go back and say, oh, by the way, the travel's gone up 10% or whatever. I just, I find room in what I budgeted for everything to make it work.
Yeah, sure.
The part of that logic is what I use when I'm pricing projects because I know that some photos are going to be so.
I feel like I might be doing a little bit of both, like lump sum and itemizing. Like I don't single out retouching per image. I basically charge because I feel like the clients want a widget type number to look at. So I give them a per image charge, and that per image charge includes licensing and retouching, any normal retouching. That way, because sometimes they want to see like what an estimate is for 4 pictures versus 6 pictures versus 8 pictures, and to include multiple pages for different scenarios. And then later below the photography fee, that would be the addition or the multiplication, of whatever, 4 times this number. Then below that is an additional client section that lists all the additional clients that are participating in that cost sharing invoice. And that cost there, it's additional client fee that's a percentage of that fee, the photography fee. So where I differ maybe is I don't really have a creative fee or a day rate fee or whatever like that. I just try to charge a high enough widget number that it covers anything I might be doing. So it feels like I'm basically itemizing a few lump sum numbers, if that's fair to say. Like there is like a miscellaneous charge that would take care of expenses, but like what you do, Chris, I just give them one number. I don't break it out into like, here's the airfare, here's the rental car. It's just one fat number. And then the number for the assistant. And then there is a line for retouching, just so they know that anything beyond normal is going to be charged for. So I feel like they get to see numbers, but the numbers don't really lend themselves to push back on.
Yeah, I don't like anybody to nitpick my numbers. Like for my drone, I use two different guys to help me do drone work, and one's a lot cheaper than the other. I'm not going to charge different. But anyway, I don't want to negotiate with my client, have them nitpicking. Well, that's too much I like all your other costs, but that drone cost, that's too much. Why do you have that so high? Or why are you going to charge me so much more for these short videos? Or, I just don't want to discuss any of that. I either fit their budget or I don't. If they got $2,000 to do the whole job and I give them $2,000, what do they care how that breaks down? I mean, they're going to get
for me. I want to make sure for me on my invoices going or estimates going into it, I like to have an idea of who's participating, because ultimately I want whoever's has a license to those photos, they should be represented on that invoice.
Yeah, no. I absolutely have all my stakeholders in place before I start the job, but and I have the amount of money that each stakeholder is going to pay, but nobody's seeing a breakdown other than how the money is going to different stakeholders. But
sure,
no one's seeing how much drone costs, how much video costs, my production time, my creative,
no, me neither.
A lump sum.
You guys, I mean, I know, Glenn, you mentioned that whatever you capture is what you deliver. There's not like a delineation
I throw away a whole lot of stuff.
Well, no, that's what I mean. Is like you're not offering them more, right? Whatever you've decided is the best that you can offer is what you give, right?
No, the very last contract, they only wanted 10 of exterior and 15 of interior and that type of thing. And that's what's in my agreement. And I could have given them just that and they would have been happy. But
right.
I go ahead and process twice as many pictures and I love them all. I like my work. And so I just give them all and then they're, oh, wow, this is amazing, Glenn. Great. And then I got them for the next one.
Yeah.
But again, I'm taking a lot of time on the preset and then I'm doing each image in 2, 3, 5 minutes. I'm not spending a half hour on an image. If I was doing that, I would do like you guys with, you get 10 images, you get 10 images.
Yeah. And there's probably certain shoots or clients where you might go back and forth, right? Like I could see myself having a client, we're saying like we're up to 40 images, in this place. I know there's going to be a lot of opportunities for me to capture single frame detail shots, and I'm happy to include those, or the client just doesn't want to see like a per image rate or something like that, depending on who they are. It might be a developer, it might be somebody in the commercial real estate realm, it might be somebody that's not necessarily used to paying for the certain types of things that I might invoice for or itemize. I've seen that. So I can understand, certain instances where that would definitely be the better option and where you can give more and feel like you're providing more value to make that relationship deepen.
I like to I like to tell my clients before the shoot, like I may shoot hundreds or thousands of images and I don't want you to have to sift through, 15 different angles of this one doorway. I'm going to pick what I think is the best and you'll only see the best shots. And so you don't have to go through hundreds or thousands of images. I think it's actually, some people get decision fatigue. So like, I like to give them a prescribed set, and then some buildings are bigger, so they might have more. Some buildings are smaller, so there may be less. But there's a certain number of proofs I'm going to hit for them. But I kind of don't want them to be overwhelmed with too many, because then it's hard. It's hard for them to choose, not because they're good, but because there's just too many to sift through. And so I found quite a few marketing directors are like, Oh, thank you. I don't want to look at 500 images, even if it's a really cool building. So
No, we're talking like 30 images instead of 15.
Yeah,
Never,
yeah, yeah.
You know,
No. I'm not.
never
I'm
given
not.
a client more than 100 images, and typically it's like 45, 50 images as opposed to 20.
Yeah.
Never hundreds. Okay. I get fatigue over thinking those.
Yeah. I know some residential photographers on the very high end, and they'll send like a contact sheet with like 300 images. And that to me is like, wow,
That's big.
good for you. Because I don't want to go through that many. Like I know for sure my clients are going to be wondering why the hell I'm sending them that many images. And I feel like it is part of our job to be the expert, right? That's why they're hiring us, is to be the delineating decision maker, the one that will say this is the best. But more often than not, my clients are standing right next to me on site. We only have as much time as we have. We can only capture so much as we can in a day, and so your decisions affect what I can shoot. You're looking over my shoulder on an iPad, and we know what we got at the end of it, and then it's just you discussing with your team, like, maybe we won't include that one, or we did a little bit more, but we can't afford to pay for them all, so we're just going to do this number. All right. Well, great conversation, everybody. I think this was
Thank you,
really
guys.
fun. Yeah, hopefully folks that listen will get something out of it. Again, we'll have a little portion after this if anyone wants to stick around and tell stories that they don't want to be in the official video. And this is an unlisted video. This isn't going to go out to the whole world. It's not going to be public on YouTube. Just us special AIAP members get access to this. So yeah, this will be the end. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Good
Bye.
job.
This has been another episode of A Photographer's Life. If you've enjoyed this program, please let us know by liking this episode and subscribing to this channel. A Photographer's Life is brought to you by the Association of Independent Architectural Photographers. This episode is copyrighted and may not be used in full or in part without the written permission of the AIAP. Please join us again soon for another inside look at the world of professional architectural photography.